Time for a high and low quick bite. I'm Ike Amaechi. I'm here with Ugo, Stephen, Leslie, Mitch Orsatti, and King.
Hey.
As LeBron James continues his mission to be the greatest of all time, as he once declared on broadcast television, ridiculous, the comparisons to Michael Jordan, they continue to grow. So as a result, the fans of both players take their sides of the field and they aim their expletives and their insults at one another in an effort to prove that their player is better than the other. But it's starting to seem impossible to convince a LeBron fan to see the reasoning fueling a Jordan fan, and vice versa, because the numbers aren't the reason anymore. It's no longer qualitative. It's become quantitative. It's no longer quantitative. It's become qualitative and subjective. And I think it's also tied to the generations. The people that watched Jordan play, they're of an older generation, and the people that have watched LeBron play, they're in a younger generation, a younger demographic. But I want to hear from you. Is the Jordan versus LeBron debate objective? Is it based on facts, or is it a subjective clash of generations? What do you think, Mitch?
It's both. Each, like you said, each side likes to pick and choose their subjective and their fact-based arguments. At this point, you're right. It's impossible. No one's convincing anybody, because if you wanted to just look at numbers, LeBron has been doing this for so long now that if you went numbers alone, LeBron is going to have the better career when it's all said and done. Well, he's in year 18 right now.
Yeah.
What has he got left? Another 15 the way he's playing? Like it doesn't make any sense. Like I said this last week, it doesn't make any sense how he's still this good. For me, I mean, I'm a Jordan guy, and I think ultimately it comes down to, what you're talking about when you're talking about best. And I'm not just saying rings, but I don't know, winning, it seems like exuded from Jordan, and sometimes I don't get that from LeBron. And I think that's the kind of stuff, like that's minutia, right? Like you get caught in the weeds when you're having arguments like that, to the point where you're never going to have a result.
Yeah. It seems, the rings conversation, the rings piece is always the big thing for Jordan fans.
Yeah.
The fact that he was undefeated in the finals.
Yeah. And every time a Jordan person brings up a ring, someone says, whoa, what about Robert Horry? And it's just like, and then you just in a never ending loop of ridiculousness.
That's a rabbit hole. A rabbit hole, definitely. Exactly. Steven, what do you think? LeBron's on your favorite team, so I don't know where you're coming from on this one.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I've started to embrace what LeBron's brought to the table as a basketball fan, just because like you look at people want to bring up his finals losses, but then you look at who he's beaten. So he's beaten KD, Westbrook, Harden, Duncan, Ginobili, Parker, Klay Thompson, Steph Curry, Draymond, Jimmy Butler, Iguodala in the finals. But then he's lost to Tim Duncan, Ginobili, Parker, Dirk, Jason Terry, Kidd, Klay Thompson, Steph Curry, KD, Draymond Green in the finals. So he's always going up against Hall of Famers and losing against Hall of Famers. So it's like, it's not easy for this guy, but he makes it work because he's at least 1-1, or like when I say 1-1, he's either beaten them and then he's lost to them, or he's beaten some guys that he just hasn't seen in the finals. But the way generations are moving, I think where he is above Jordan is the social activism part. Jordan was quiet back in the 90s with anything socially, but that's how the times were. Times are changing now, and LeBron speaks up. LeBron has a school. LeBron pays for scholarships. There's just so many different things that LeBron does that's out there that people adapt to now. Jordan has lineups for new Jays, and people are lining up for new Jays. LeBron probably has the same thing, not as great, but his outreach to the community is a lot more impactful. And I think that is where his legacy goes beyond what Michael Jordan has done for the future, right? So there's no clear-cut answer, because old heads are going to say this guy, someone else is going to say this guy, and some people who hated LeBron his whole career just stay hating on him. But it's just something to embrace.
It's hard to deny, though. It's hard to deny what LeBron's done for for the NBA and for the world, but can't take away from what Jordan has done. I think there are just many players, not even just players, but people in general, that grew up looking at what Michael Jordan or the success that he was able to achieve and use that as inspiration. Jordan's been huge for the state of North Carolina. Just as much as LeBron's been big for the state of Ohio and specifically Akron.
The one thing with Jordan fans is they never acknowledge his losing periods. It's always he went 6-0. They don't mention he got slapped by Isaiah. That you can't talk about that kind of stuff.
It's funny that you mentioned that though. You talked about LeBron's like beating these players and losing to these players. The Jordan person has come back by saying Jordan never lost to any of those players in the finals, right? He never lost to Hall of Fame guys.
No, the KD Warriors, oh my God, they would have slapped the Bulls. I don't care what anyone says.
Oh my God.
In 7 at least. Okay. You don't think so?
That's not a slap. That's not a slap.
But when I say a slap, I mean it. Every game they win by would be a lot.
But how do you say it? You can't say it, right? Like,
you can't. But
you don't know.
Curry is
You'll
the
never
best.
know.
Curry is one of the best point guards in the history of the game. KD is just almost unguardable, and then you just sprinkle in the rest of the guys as if they're no one, but they are someone. So,
the rest of the guys, Clay.
But that's what I mean. Like that team is so superly stacked where it's like, yeah, LeBron obviously had to lose to them. They were ridiculous, and I think they would do the same thing to Bulls. But you can't mention that because the Jordan fans will get upset.
No, it's not the Jordan fans. I think just NBA fans would just say, that especially that record, that 72 win Jordan or Bulls team, they had the players that could defend the guys you just named. Like Rodman, Pippen, and Jordan were defensive stalwarts, man.
Yeah. It was a different era. It was a different era. That was defense. Defense was more important back then.
Now we're getting sucked into it.
Beat Detroit was because of defense.
Yeah, we are getting sucked into it.
Getting sucked in.
Golden State, KD's all offense. It's all offense in KD's story. It's all offense. But it's two different eras. You can't compare a defensive team to an offensive team. An offensive era. Defense was what won championships back then. KD wouldn't have a chance.
Yeah.
They punched people back then. It's a different league. It's a different sport.
Hey, and by the way, King, please don't fall for Steven's antics. You see how he's tried to deflect? So now it's no longer about LeBron, it's about KD. No. This is about LeBron. Well, what do you think, King? What do you think? LeBron versus Jordan, is that
it's easy.
Is that an argument that can happen?
It's not even an argument. It's super easy. 20 years from now, when you're looking at the basketball history books, all people are going to remember is that LeBron took his talents to South Beach at his peak, and Michael did that shot where he did a dunk and then turned into a left-handed layup in his peak. If you compare the two peaks in the two eras, Michael was excelling the whole time. LeBron left to South Beach and then came back, and now it's a better story, but there's only one peak that was astronomical, and it was Jordan.
Okay. Interesting perspective.
Interesting.
LeBron in his Miami days was crazy. What are you saying?
With help.
Wow.
You guys just said Jordan had help to. Never mind. Jordan had no help.
Jordan carried. Every athlete has to peak. They work all year long to peak.
But
Jordan peaked.
3
LeBron
NBA titles on 3 different teams is not good enough.
Why do you think LeBron's still playing? Because he never played that level. He never got to peak.
Oh damn!
Yeah,
that's why.
On this.
Or he's just the best, and he can still
play. Spiraling, man.
No.
Another successful social experiment. So
honestly, yeah,
I learned the last time.
Ugo, are you gonna fall? Are you gonna take the bait or what?
So listen, at the end of the day, LeBron even said it himself.
LeBron is coasting.
He's chasing the GOAT. Okay,
he's coasting.
He's chasing the GOAT.
He's coasting.
Right? So
he's cheating. He's
regardless of whatever happens,
he's using numbers to win. He lost his chance to chase the GOAT. It's over.
Okay, let's let you go. Let's let you go.
Can I pontificate, please? So LeBron is chasing Jordan right now, and the fans, they can say whatever they want, but again, it's always going to be that, era versus era. When kids talk about, so when peeps talk about, when I grew up, my childhood was better than your childhood. The tough league versus the snowflake league, Gen X versus Gen Y, Looney Tunes versus Animaniacs, high tops versus low cuts. Like, it's just always going to be this back and forth clash over what time frame, what period of our lives were better than other people's period of lives. And, I love the banter. I love the debate. I think it's actually comical. But I really still think at the end of the day, when LeBron's career is over and a true comparison is done, I think Jordan is still going to really matter for the majority of the most important stats, right? And, those championships will resonate. Jordan's peak, and I will echo on what King was saying because he is speaking some knowledge. Jordan's peak was actually really ridiculous. And if you factor in, there was no internet, Instagram, any of that stuff at that point in time. And he was just like known worldwide, right? These athletes today have the benefit of just so much connectivity and so much social connectivity, to take it another step further. But Jordan was like, he was more well known than most countries' leaders, right? That whole Olympics in Barcelona, with the Dream Team and whatnot. That was just like, I put him up there like Michael Jackson. Let's just say that, like, that dude goes anywhere. Absolutely. And he's just swamped, mobbed the whole 9 yards.
Yeah.
It comes down to this. Isaiah Thomas. LeBron slapped his Isaiah Thomas. Jordan couldn't.
Okay.
And that has been another high and low quick bite. Go ahead, Ugo. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say that it's interesting about Jordan. Like, sometimes you could look at him as the greatest con artist ever because, he's been able to build up this mystique, this legend, and he never breaks character at any point in time. Mm-hmm. Right? Like, it's almost like some of your favorite wrestlers from back in the day. Like, perfect example, Ric Flair. Like, you look at Ric Flair and it's like, is he really like this all the time, or is he just playing a character on TV, right? And just with Jordan, with everything he's been able to accomplish in his career, he has never wavered in any story or any moment or anything he's ever said. And if anybody disputes it, he just throws up 6 rings, 72-10, MVPs, this, that, this. And if somebody agrees with him, it just, he adds more to it, right?
Yeah.
And it's really interesting because I think he's the only athlete that is basically untouchable in that sense where, I have 6 championships. Yeah, he does. I won 72. Yeah, he did. I played in. Yeah, he did. And he just, everybody feeds into it and he goes along with it. If there was ever an expose that came out that, Jordan was a fraud or Jordan was a this or Jordan was a that, I think it would crush so many people's hearts and you see a lot of crying. That's for sure.
That might be the only thing that could really take Jordan off the top at this point is if something comes out where he was like he was on. Well, I'm not going to say it.
But what could he have done?
Don't say it. People get mad at you.
Well,
don't answer that. Don't answer that.
We're not going to say anything.
Lied about the flu
We're not
game,
do it. Don't do it.
Be a gambler.
What did you say?
All right.
We can go down that rabbit hole if you want.
Those things.
The fact that he was able to win those championships
and still
while being an alcoholic.
What?
Amazing.
Amazing. Those are fine.
All right. Okay. And that has been another high and low quick bite. Look for new quick bites every week on this YouTube channel, along with other bonus content you won't find on our weekly podcasts. So like, comment, and subscribe. And thanks for listening. We'll see you next week.